Two trains leave the station at the same time, one heading east and the other heading west. All right, now if I were to draw a picture to represent what that looks like, that dot there represents the station. And then an arrow to the right and an arrow to the left represents your train heading east and west. It says the eastbound train travels at 65 miles per hour. The west train travels at 75 miles per hour. And the question wants to know, how long will it take the trains to be 364 miles apart? So I'm going to call one train the east train and another train the west train. In the problem, it said the east train was traveling at 65 miles per hour. The west train travels at 75 miles per hour. The time, it didn't say. The trick here is that you have to make the assumption that both trains are actually traveling the same amount of time. So therefore, I'm going to use a variable t and use the same one because it should be the same amount of time for each train. So now at this point, I don't actually know the actual distance that each train traveled, but the question said after a certain amount of time, they're going to be 365 miles apart. So if you think about it like this, okay, let's say the west train travels a certain distance. I'm going to call that distance 1. The other train travels another distance. I'm going to call that distance 2. When you add them together, you should get 364. Now let's go back to our chart. There's a key thing you have to remember. D is equal to R multiplied to T. So in this chart, if I take 65 and multiply it to T, I get 65T. Now, if I do the same thing for the west train, the rate 75 multiplied to T, I get 75T. So that is what I'm going to use to replace D1 and D2. I'm going to put 65T plus 75T equals 364. So if I add these together, I'm going to get 65 and 75, which is 140T equals 364. Now for these questions, I'm okay with you using a calculator. This is a separate assignment that's not on your learning path. And this particular question will not show up on a quiz. So it's okay for you to use your calculator for these. All right, so now we're going to divide both sides by 140. All right, so we have T equals 364 divided by 140, 2.6 hours. Okay, so the question says, how long will it take for the trains to be 364 miles apart? That's 2.6 hours. Okay, so in other words, that would be 2 hours and then 60% of another hour. So if you think about that, let me see if I can get my calculator back. Okay, 60 times 0.6, 36 minutes. So 2.6 hours is equivalent to 2 hours and 36 minutes. Okay, but 2.6 is fine. All right, now just some other information. If you want to use your chart to find other information, both of these are 2.6. If you're curious, well, what is the distance? Okay. We have 65 times 2.6, 169 miles. What about the other one? 75 times 2.6, 195 miles. If I add these together, 195 plus the 169, you get 364.